Hey guys, Abby here and welcome back to another Outriders video. Today we're going to be looking at the turret Techno build. I was kind of hinting at this build a couple weeks ago when my inventory was wiped, unfortunately, but we are back. We've been grinding on Technomancer and we've got a lot of goodies. So I'm finally at a point where I feel like I can share this build. So the first thing I want to say, to get it right out in the open right now, this build is not as strong damage wise as your Blighted Rounds build. Your Blighted Rounds build is still going to give you the most DPS and the fastest clears solo. However, Blighted Rounds can be really frustrating in co-op with input lag where your bullets are not registering. It's not registering as a kill. You're not getting your ammo back, or your co-op teammate gets the kill. You don't get credit for it. You don't get ammo back. And now your Blighted Rounds are down and you're not doing any damage. It's really frustrating in 3-player groups. So that's why I wanted to create more of a turret type build. So this is what we're going for here, and it actually outputs a lot of damage with your turret. So it's kind of a set it and forget it type of thing. And then we're going to be using our weapons and our weapon mods to do additional damage and to focus on the frozen targets. It's a really fun build in co-op, and you can also solo some of the expeditions. I've been able to silver pretty much every expedition. You can gold Archways of Enoch, and there's a couple other ones that are pretty close. But super quick expeditions, it's a little bit more difficult because this is a turret build. You want your status effects and your turret damage to kind of build up over time. So the longer, more open maps in expeditions are going to be really great for this build. All right, so first let's take a look at the skills and the class tree. Starting off with the skills, you already know we're going to be using Blighted Turret and Cryo Turret. We're also using the mod that gives us 2 Cryo Turrets, so we're going to be able to have 3 turrets on the field pretty much at all times, which is going to help with our skill leech with getting health back. This build is really tanky. You don't really have to worry about dying as long as your turrets are out. And then for the third skill, we're going to be using Cold Snap just because it is a quick activation, freezes everything on the field. We do more damage to frozen with this skill tree, so we're going to want to focus on the frozen enemies. Cold Snap is also a really quick and easy ability to use. It's a great way to apply a vulnerability to all the enemies that it hits, which allows you to do more damage and your teammates to do more damage. We'll also talk about Icicle Storm, which is a huge damage booster for this build. It's going to be a great way to get lots of AoE clear. So those are the 3 skills. Let's take a look at the class tree. Now the class tree is pretty standard anomaly techno, I would say, minus maybe Scrapnel or a minigun build, but for a support type freeze build, this is a pretty simple skill tree. I've tried so many different crazy things in this skill tree. I've tried so many different skill trees. I've tried stacking a bunch of anomaly. I've tried going top tree and then doing our anomaly converter, this grand amplification up here, because we actually get more anomaly power by going up here than down here with some other mods, which is kind of weird. But what I always came back to was this skill tree right here, because we're getting both marked for execution, which are going to stack and are going to give our vulnerability 80% more effectiveness, which counts for our damage as well as our teammates. So all of our skills, all of their skills, all of our weapons are going to be doing more damage to the enemies that are inflicted with vulnerability. And then as you can see here in this middle tree, we're also going to be getting an extra 10% damage towards frozen. Our freeze is going to last a long time. And then down here, we're getting another 30% damage to frozen targets. So what you're going to want to do is try to get those elites and the bosses frozen as quickly as you can before they build up that effect resistance, to try and burn them down, because once they're frozen, they're going to be frozen for a lot longer. So if you can get that off quickly in that 3-man group, you're going to have a much easier time burning through the enemies. And then the rest of this tree is really just cooldown reduction and some weapon leech, some health and all that good stuff. So we're going to be pretty tanky. And then the other big node here is Wipeout. Enemies below 30% health receive 20% more damage. This counts for your turrets as well. So your turrets, your weapons, and your weapon mods are going to be doing 20% more damage to enemies below 30 health. And then the two big anomaly boosters here are going to be this big node down here, Adrenalizing Antenna, which is going to give us 30% anomaly power for us and our allies whenever we throw that blighted turret. And the blighted turret is on a 6.5 cooldown with the cooldown skills that we have. I think normally it's like maybe 7 seconds. So we're going to be throwing that out a lot, and it lasts for 10 seconds. So we're good to go on that. The other capstone here in the middle tree is also going to give us anomaly power and weapon damage 40% for 10 seconds every time we activate a gadget, which is our cold snap and our cryo turrets. All right, so now that we've talked about the skill tree and our skills, let's go ahead and talk about weapons and our armor and armor mods. We're going to be focusing on status effects and damage over time. We want to make sure we're dotting all the enemies and we are tickling them down with our cryo turrets and applying toxic with our blighted turret. So the only other damage over time effects that we can put on them are burn and bleed. I would recommend doing some sort of burn because burn does a lot of damage. We know from the guide that burn actually does 3.7% of your ability power. So we're going to get the highest tick from burn. So it's really important to apply burn, toxic, and then we're also going to do bleed with our weapon mod, even though it's only 2.5%. So for our main weapon, we're going to want something like Shell Rogs that gives us ultimate burning bullets. This is especially great against creatures because it's a little bit more difficult to hit their crit spots. However, you can also go with the Inferno Seed to get Wrath of Moloch, which is going to do a burn and explosion damage. So you get the benefit of both. You could also use Air to the Desert and then put something like Wrath of Moloch or ultimate burning bullets on that as well to do both. However, I do like running ultimate bone shrapnel. There's also a tier 2 bone shrapnel as well. If you happen to get that on one of your ARs like I did right here, you could put burning bullets on here or Wrath of Moloch in combination. Just make sure you have status power on the weapon as well. That's also going to boost your damage, which is one of the reasons why I like Inferno Seed, why I like Air to the Desert, and why I like Shell Rogs. They all have an additional 30% status power. Air to the Desert and Shell Rogs also have that skills life leech, so you're going to get even more tankiness out of the build that way as well. So we're going to be able to burn them, bleed them, toxic, freeze. We're putting almost all of the status effects minus Ash, so they're going to be ticking down for a lot of damage. So you want to make sure you just ... touch all the enemies to get those elements working, and then focus on the ones that you need to focus on. For our secondary weapon, we're using Death Shield with Fortress and Shadow Comet. This is going to give us a lot of big burst damage. So when you're going against a boss, if you already have all your dots on them, you've cleaned up most of the ads, and you're trying to burn down the boss, you can switch to this weapon, pop a few shots in there, and then go back to your normal routine. I'm really looking for a second Death Shield so that I can dismantle it and try out Fortress on my main weapon with the burn or with bone shrapnel to see how that goes. I'm not sure if the 43% damage bonus to my weapon and my anomaly abilities like my turret and my status effects would outweigh having 2 damage mods. I haven't been able to test that yet, so if any of you guys have, definitely leave a comment below. And then for our armor, we're going to have Cranium of a Lost Creature for our helmet. This is for power assimilation. This is really good on expeditions with a lot of elites like the End of Time Worn Spire, like Stargrave in the middle room, or Frontline, the entirety of Frontline. This is what really boosts our anomaly power, allows our cryo turret and our blighted turret to hit a lot harder. And then we're going to be using Icicle Storm. This is another tier 3 mod that is a necessity in my opinion. This is going to create amazing AoE clear when you get those freezes off. And since we do a lot more damage to frozen targets, it's going to be a lot easier to kill those enemies as well. On our chest piece, we've got Hail Turret, which is increasing our cryo turret's damage based on our status power. And like I said, we've got 150% status power, so that is a huge increase for us. And then Captain Hunter, which is going to increase our damage against elites by 25%. This is going to be increasing everything, anomaly, weapon, status effects, everything. So this is a must-have as well. On our legs, we've got Shatter and Freezing Boost. These do stack, and they're going to give us more damage against frozen targets. On our gloves, we've got Euthanizer and Radical Therapy. Same thing applies here. Anything that gets hit with our Blighted Turret, we're going to be doing that much more damage to them. And then on our boots, we've got Twins, which is a tier 3 mod that allows us to place 2 turrets down. And then we've also got Bullet Kindling because we're going to be doing burn as well. So we've got a lot of bonus damage to status effects. And all of this is percent based instead of just a flat number. So as we increase our base, we're going to get an increased percent damage bonus against that as well. And then for all your armor pieces, you're going to want to go for anomaly power, status power, and then either close range or long range, depending on how you like to play. I like to play up in their face with this build. I really love using my melee a lot because it's a cryo melee. And so you're going to be able to do that much more damage to them when they are frozen. And then I think on a couple of these pieces, I have cooldown reduction as well, which is really nice for the cooldown of your cold snap. We're down at 16 seconds. Alright guys, that is it for the build. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been a ton of fun to play. I've been getting really frustrated in co-op with the Blighted Rounds build and losing my rounds because I'm not getting credit for the kill, or there's a connection issue somewhere, no registration on my hits, and this build has been a breath of fresh air. It's been so much fun to play. We've been playing with a debuffing Pyro and a debuffing Dev, and it's been amazing. We've been going through expeditions and golding them no problem in 3-man on challenge tier 15. So I hope you guys enjoy this build, and I hope it brings you a little something different to run on Techno. If you tried it, let me know down in the comments below, or if you have any other build ideas, throw them out. I'm always down to try something new. Make sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.